Your neighbor knows things about your dog that you never see. They know exactly when the barking begins, how long it stretches, which days are worse than others. They've heard sounds through the wall that you will never hear because you're simply not there when they happen. And yet, when you walk back in, most dogs look completely normal. Calm, maybe a little excited, acting like nothing ever happened, because from their perspective, nothing changed. But you've noticed the clues: the cushion on the floor, the rug corner twisted in a way it wasn't this morning, the strange, heavy silence of a dog that senses something is off. You might call it boredom, mischief, a bad day, but what's actually happening runs much deeper. For decades, behavioral researchers have done something most owners don't. They leave cameras running, walk out, and watch. And what those cameras see reveal, minute by minute, heartbeat by heartbeat, is one of the most unsettling insights in animal psychology. Your dog isn't just missing you, something precise is unfolding inside their brain, and it begins before the door even shuts. In 2010, researchers in Milan placed cameras in the homes of 23 dogs and left. On average, barking, whining, and howling started just 3 minutes and 15 seconds after departure. Destructive behavior followed within 7 minutes. 7 minutes? That's all it takes before the damage begins. But the most important discovery came after that initial outburst. The noise fades. The scratching stops, and if you came home at that point, you'd think your dog had settled. It hadn't. Panting increases, heart rate stays high. The distress doesn't disappear, it transforms. Silence replaces sound, but the stress remains. And over longer, yeah, periods, something even more revealing appears. The behavior doesn't steadily calm down, instead, it cycles. Every 20 to 30 minutes, there's another spike, another burst of movement, another wave of distress, followed by a brief quiet phase. Then it repeats. This isn't a dog settling, it's a dog trapped in a loop. Now compare that to dogs without separation issues. In studies from Sweden, dogs left alone for hours spent about 97% of their time resting, lying down, occasionally moving, but largely calm. Not bored, not distressed, simply waiting. The difference between these dogs isn't breed, age, or even genetics. It comes down to one thing: what they've learned to expect. But the story actually starts before you leave. As early as the 1980s, researchers noticed that anxious dogs begin to stress while their owner is still home. It starts with small cues: checking your phone, putting on shoes, grabbing your bag. Over time, these actions become signals, signals that say you're about to leave. By the time you reach the door, some dogs are already pacing, panting, following you closely, not by coincidence, but because they've learned the pattern perfectly. For years, the advice was simple: break those patterns. Pick up your keys randomly, put on your shoes, and sit back down. But research later showed this doesn't work for every dog. In fact, for some, it makes things worse. Because the fear isn't about the cues, it's about what comes after: the uncertainty, the absence. Your dog isn't afraid of your keys, they're afraid you won't return. A long term study following young dogs found something surprising. Emotional goodbyes, those long, affectionate farewells, didn't cause separation problems. What mattered was what happened when you came. Pitback dogs whose owners returned to damage and reacted with anger, raised voices, frustration were far more likely to develop anxiety. Not because the dog understood what it did wrong hours earlier, it didn't. What it understood was this: your return is unpredictable, maybe even threatening. And that changes everything, because once a dog feels uneasy about your return, it becomes more anxious about your departure. The beginning and end of your absence connect into one continuous loop of stress. Even common advice like, get another dog, doesn't hold up. Studies show it doesn't fix the issue. Because the problem isn't loneliness in general, it's the absence of a specific person: you. Here's the part most people miss. You come home, everything looks fine. No mess, no noise. Your dog seems calm. You assume the day was easy, but sometimes that silence means something else entirely. In classic psychological research, animals exposed to inescapable stress eventually stopped reacting, not because they were okay, but because they no longer believed their actions mattered. This state isn't calmness, it's shutdown. And newer findings suggest something even more concerning. In some highly anxious dogs, long term stress hormones actually drop. Not because stress is gone, but because the system is exhausted. The dog that looks fine might be the one struggling the most. There's also a powerful connection between you and your dog that most people overlook. Studies measuring long term stress levels in both dogs and their owners found something striking. They mirror each other. But more importantly, the owner's stress predicts the dog's, not the other way around. Your emotional baseline shapes theirs, which means a stressed dog, it doesn't start the day neutral, they start already elevated. Meanwhile, the pet industry offers endless solutions diffusers, supplements, background noise, but most show little to no real effect in controlled studies. They focus on the hours you're gone. The real work happens in the hours you're present. What does work is something slower, almost deceptively simple. Gradual exposure, not leaving for long stretches and hoping for improvement, but building tolerance step by step. Seconds, not minutes. Touch the door, come back, step outside, return. Repeat it so many times that your dog begins to rewrite its expectation. Leaving does not mean loss, it means return. It feels insignificant. Standing at your door for half a minute and walking back in doesn't feel like progress, but it is, because you're not training behavior, you're reshaping belief. And there's a point. Once a dog can remain calm for around 40 minutes, longer absences often improve much faster. Not because 40 minutes is special, but because by then, the dog finally has enough evidence to trust what happens next. In more severe cases, combining training with medication has been shown to significantly improve outcomes, not by sedating the dog, but by making the brain more capable of learning new patterns. So, after decades of observation, one thing is clear. Some dogs wait peacefully, some cycle through waves of distress for hours, some go quiet in ways that look like calm but aren't. And almost none of them are reacting to something you did wrong, or something a toy can fix. They're reacting to the absence of you. Not just your presence, but your nervous system, the rhythm they've synced themselves to over time. The dogs who struggle most aren't disobedient. They're uncertain. They haven't yet learned, deep in their system, that the door closing and the door opening are the same event, just separated by time.